Hello folks, this is your boy J Dub at HVC, where we help you to get the most out of your mobile tech. Today's video is targeted towards my Apple users. So iPhone folks, I want to explain to you why the messaging experience is bad between the two platforms, and you'll see that it has nothing to do with Android being inferior and Apple being superior and none of that jazz. And the only reason why I decided to do this video is because I've heard, just a ridiculous amount of cyberbullying amongst teens and young adults over this. People not willing to date each other over the fact that one person has an Android phone versus an iPhone. It's gotten a little bit ridiculous. So I just figured I'd give you the technical data behind why the experience is bad so that we can put an end to this foolishness. All right. So just so you know, what I'm going to do is I want you to look at my handy pointer and I want you to see, but I'm going to pit Samsung and iPhones versus each other because that seems to be the common theme. Now, the average size of a smartphone photo between these two devices, Samsung averages between 3 megabytes to 17 megabytes and iPhone 1.5 megabytes to 9 megabytes. And then for professional photographers who shoot raw photos, 40 megabytes on Samsung, 35 megabytes on iPhone. Why does this matter? Because when we send messages across the platform to each other, we're hit with an SMS MMS carrier data limit. Now, I'm going to list the three major wireless carriers in the U.S. and two of the MMVOs that use their network as well, or the big three. So T-Mobile, 1 megabyte to send, 3 megabytes to receive. Verizon, 1.2 megabytes to send, 3.5 megabytes to receive. AT&T, 1 megabyte to send, 10 megabytes to receive. And then Google Fi runs off of T-Mobile and US Cellular, so it's 1 megabyte to send, 3 to receive. Xfinity Mobile, same as Verizon, 1.2 megabytes and 3.5. Now, if anyone who works for the carriers out there, if the numbers are different from what it is that I'm quoting, then please leave in the comments below, and then I can always make sure that I get that out to everyone in a follow-up video. These tech specs came from each of the individual carrier websites. So what does that mean? That means that, like, for example, if I, and I'm going to use an example that I did with an experiment. So we look at this photo. This photo here I took with a 108 megapixel camera on a Samsung S21 Ultra. For those of you that want to make sure to fact check me, I have the data specs here. So 108 megapixel. This photo came out to be 17 megabytes. And then this is the serial number or device number for the Samsung S21 Ultra. So what I did was I took this photo and then I went and I sent it to a friend who has an iPhone. And then I asked her to go and send me back let me clarify. When I sent her the photo, I sent it via link to Google Photos so she could download it in its full resolution from the cloud, and then asked her to send it back to me via Apple Messages. So when she sends it back to me, this is the photo. Looks normal. Nothing, that doesn't look like the resolution is lost or changed. There is a slight difference, but the trained eye can see it. But what I wanted to do is bring your attention to the specs of the photo. So now it acts as if when it sent the photo over the network, it dumbed it down as if it was taken with a 5 megapixel camera. And then it went from 17 megabytes down to less than 1 megabyte at 0.97. So quite naturally, whenever you receive pictures from an Android user and you see those kind of specs, you would think that Android phones cameras are trash, because to the untrained eye and to a regular consumer who doesn't pay attention to what cameras are available on all of the different devices other than the one in your hand. If you know that you're rocking an iPhone with three 12 megapixel with three 12 megapixel cameras, you're like, well, why in this day and age does someone have an Android phone that has 5 megapixels for the camera? So naturally, when the picture quality is a little less than desirable, and then you see the specs on it, if you try to blow it up, print it, put it on a larger screen, you see that the resolution is lost. Then you would say, oh wow, Android cameras and photos are trash. But that's not the case. So I'm gonna take you back to the specs. So my Samsung took this photo at 17 megapixels. Was only able to send it over the T-Mobile network, and if I send it over the T-Mobile network or any of the other carriers, on average, that it's going to be 1 megapixel of the 17 that's going to go. So that's 94% of the resolution that's going to be lost in that photo. In this particular example, when she sent the picture back to me, she's on T-Mobile, has an iPhone, has nothing to do with the iPhone of why it got the 94% of the resolution is lost. What it has to do is the SMS MMS bridge between the two platforms. So it gets worse when we look at video. So I asked my wife to participate in an experiment. She didn't know exactly what I was doing. So I just said, hey, babe, can you take a few minutes to participate in an experiment? You don't have to do anything but look and send me back the video I send you. So I have this video that I later sent to her so she could see what it was I was intending on sending. But this was a screen recording of my home screen in a demonstration that I was doing. This video was 1 minute and 54 seconds. But because of the carrier limitations, when I took my phone off of what is the equivalent of iMessage, but called Google Chat, I end up using the same SMS MMS bridge that we use between Apple and iPhone to send to her. Now she has a Samsung S21 Ultra on T-Mobile, so she's capable of receiving high resolution photos and videos. Now, when I went and purposely turned off the Google Chat feature, this is the equivalent of me going and sending it to an Apple user. So because of the data limit, it only took 13 seconds of the video. So it not only did it trim it, but it also made the video of poor quality. Sorry about that. So when she goes and she sends it back to me, she says too small, right? And then when I let her know that this was what I actually sent her, then she says, oh, well, see, now that's a full-size candy bar. And it was just because I originally recorded it in 4K. The old SMS system could only handle 13 seconds of the video. So let me just show you what that looked like. First, this is a sample of the video. This is the screen recording that I sent her. So then I go and when she sends it back to me, this is what I got. Now, understand that this video you're currently looking at is formatted to be watched on your smartphone. So when you saw the original video that I showed you, it filled the entire screen. So I shoot these videos in 9:16 ratio to make sure that you have an immersive experience when you're looking at it from your smartphone. But when you open it up, based on the data limitation, this is what you're going to get. That it is going to be small, and on top of that, it's also been significantly trimmed. And I had no say in what was how much of the content was going to be trimmed. It decided it on its own. So just to give you an idea, again, I like to always back things up with facts. So This is the original size of the video, 78 megabytes. Now, just so you know, just for your information, Google Messages maximum file size is 105 megabytes. Apple iMessage maximum file size 100 megabytes. So this is what these file sizes are if we're going to send in messages to the same users on the same platform. The problem that we experience is that when we send it across platform, we're now limited to this 1 megabyte limit. And this is what we're experiencing when you send messages across platform. So the best solution is to go and upload it to the cloud and then send someone a link to be able to go and send that link in the messages so that they can actually download the picture or video in its full resolution. Same thing with files. So let's go a little bit further. All right, so then now when I go and look at again, I like to back things up with facts. This is the specs of the 78 megabyte video, that it was trimmed down to 1 megabyte. And that was the equivalent of 13 seconds. So it's the network that is really the culprit with the platform. Now, the SMS and MMS platform is not capable of being able to handle high resolution pictures, high resolution videos, and large files. There is a solution. Now, my friends and family that have iPhones, they will be quick to say or suggest that we all switch to iPhones. But that's never going to happen. And there's a multitude of reasons that's too long to list. But I will go ahead and list the top 5 reasons why most Android users won't switch to an iPhone. Customization. Now, with customization, Apple is just starting to get into that, but they're still kind of in the infant stages of that. And Android is very, very far ahead in that regard. Multitasking. Okay, so that's almost non-existent on an iPhone. Really, the way that multitasking is regarded on iPhones is that when you leave one app to go to another, it doesn't close the other app. So it allows you to be able to switch back and forth. Fortunately for Android users, you can do split screen, floating windows, and things like that to truly multitask at the same time. So unfortunately, unless you have an iPad, iOS doesn't really support multitasking. Variety of devices. Android offers an abundance of devices with features and also different form factors like folding phones and things like that. Then the ecosystem. The ecosystem is larger than Apple, and not because it's just superior or better, but it's because Android makes low-end, mid-range, and flagship devices, and the devices are capable of working with other technology without someone having to buy additional technology. Like, for example, if you want to be able to show your iPhone on your smart TV, you need to have an Apple TV and as a bridge to be able to do, to be able to show all that is on your iPhone, not just a simple casting of particular video apps, but if you really want to show your screen. So then, the last thing would be the Google AI. The Google AI is throughout the platform and the hardware. So it's going to diehard, Android users, you can't get that experience on an iPhone. And then, I just want to also bring up a couple other things too. Like, human beings, like variety and cutting edge technology, and innovations in smartphones usually start on Android and then are later adopted by Apple. And I'm just going to give you quick 5 examples that are critical and key to what we use in our smartphones today. Fast charging. Fast charging was introduced by Android in 2013, and then Not and then Apple introduced it in 2017. Even still, even today, now you have to go and spend an abundance of money in order to be able to purchase a fast charger in order for to charge your iPhone. Now, of course, now Android has dumped their chargers, but that's neither here or there. Wireless charging. Wireless charging was introduced by Android in 2015 and then Apple in 2017. Front-facing camera introduced by Android in 2003. We didn't see a front-facing camera on an iPhone until 2010. Stereo speakers. Stereo speakers are introduced on by Android in 2005. Apple 2014. And then again with the multitasking 2008, and then Apple's, again, I have to speak with a caveat because multitasking cannot really be done on iOS right now. I mean, at least not on an iPhone. You can do it on a iPad, but not on where you can split screen two applications, maybe even three. And you can do that on an iPad, but you can't do that on an iPhone. So I always am hesitant to go and say that Apple has multitasking. There's a caveat with that, and that always has to be explained. So the solution is this. The solution is Google's RCS platform known as Chat. The SMS platform is managed by individual wireless carriers through an alliance. Now Google has gotten the carriers across the globe to adopt RCS. In 2020, it's estimated 88 operators in 59 countries adopted RCS as a means to replace SMS MMS, and the number's growing every day. So I don't know what it is today, but the thing is that it is well documented that the carriers across the globe have agreed to adopt RCS as a default messaging app. As a default in the Google Messages app for Android phones sold this year going forward. So what does that mean from a numbers perspective? I'm gonna just jump real quick down towards the bottom. Now that means that, and we just want to give you the sheer scale of it. So Google Maps has RCS in it. So that's 154 million users that can chat with businesses. They can talk. Customers can talk back and forth with a business. Google Workspace has Google Chat built in. That's 2.6 billion users. Gmail has Google Chat built into it as well. That's 1.6 billion. And then again, to emphasize, as Android users upgrade their devices, they're automatically going to be opted into using Google Messages because that will be the default on their device. So that's 2.5 billion Android users. Now that is in contrast to Apple having acquired 1.5 billion iMessage users since 2011. So currently, based on the recent the Google I/O, 500 million users are currently on Google's chat or RCS platform. And let's not forget that Microsoft PCs, there are 1.75 billion PC users. Microsoft has their mobile device built on Android. Android is integrated with PC. So those are potential, users as well that will be adopted to the platform. Now, just Android alone, that's a billion more users that will that they'll end up having in just a matter of 2 to 3 years. So they'll be able to adopt it faster and roll it out faster than Apple did over the 11-year period, because they've been working behind the scenes since 2019 to get this implemented throughout a number of different systems. So So the solution is that, that we, that Apple go ahead and adopt RCS. It'll give the users encrypted messages and the ability to be able to send high resolution pics and videos and large files. Now, here's the thing, that it's not going to hurt Apple. I know that it's not profitable for them to do this, but here's the thing, is that they can go and they can keep exclusives that would keep Apple users happy, like Animojis, bubble and screen effects and FaceTime integration. In the meantime, Google would keep their exclusives, like the Google Assistant integration, scheduled messages, which scheduled messages, I'm pretty sure if Apple wants to do that, they can. And then Google Duo integration, which is their video their video calling app. So, and then they just a little fun stuff, like, again, like the Apple Animojis. That's my mom, so she do with her cute self. And then, Samsung has AR stickers and animated stuff. So there's little things that both of them have that would allow their users to be able to go and, still claim supremacy in some way, shape, or form. But the thing is that the minimum basics are being covered. Now, here's the thing: is that aside from the sheer numbers that I shared with you, I also want to bring your attention to this. The EU is looking to force Apple and all of the major messaging platforms that have interoperability with this new law called the Digital Markets Act. Now, the current status of it is that it's been passed in Parliament, and that they need to get 27 countries to go and sign off on it, and that it would go into effect in October. Now, what does that mean? That means that Google Messages, iMessages, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, and forgive me if I'm missing any other major messaging platforms outside of the US, that all of them will be required to give us a minimum baseline. That minimum baseline would be encrypted messages and the ability to be able to send high resolution photos and videos across a platform. So the thing is that it's going to be inevitable. It's going to be inevitable that, just in sheer numbers alone, that you're going to have more than twice the amount of Android users that is going to have encrypted messages and the ability to be able to send large files. So it doesn't really make any sense for Apple to hold on to the SMS and MMS platform, other than the fact that banking institutions and other essential services that use a two-step authentication still may be using the old SMS and MMS platform. But that's just a code or a password. I mean, just a code to get into. So does that need to be encrypted? Not necessarily, in my opinion. So it's not as urgent to be able to have that done. But when we want to be able to exchange a conversation and then go and send pictures and videos, we should be able to send them at the best quality possible. We should be able to send and communicate, in a safe environment where our messages are encrypted across the board, regardless of what messaging platform we use. Because we have that same universal ability when we make phone calls. We have that same universal ability when we send emails. That it doesn't matter what email provider it is you're using. There's a minimum standard of security protocols and abilities that we have that's a baseline. So the thing is that, at the end of the day, I just want you guys to understand that, that it's not the technology of the platforms that's inferior, but the bridge between them. And that we, on both sides of the aisle, we need to go and lobby to retire the SMS platform and go to to RCS as a universal platform that we can use. And then what we do in what each of the messaging platforms do internally in terms of unique abilities and features and things like that they provide to their users, they can still do that. They can still do that. So it makes it, you still can be competitive. So it doesn't take away competition by going and giving us a baseline of services that we are entitled to. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say in the comments below. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. Please subscribe. And if you like what I was sharing with you today, then please share, please like. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.